Welcome to this ASMR edition of Tales from Outer Space, where we like to take stories from space from around the internet and read it aloud for your entertainment. Psych, that's not happening. We're doing this with energy. With energy, I'm telling you. Subscribe, damn it, and all that other YouTube stuff. All the links will be down below as per usual. And as always, I hope that you enjoy.
I'd just quickly like to thank my Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Sergeant Boomer, and Cat, Crab, Lobster. Again, thank you very much. Heavy Metal, written by Ice Cream and Wine. Cag watched appreciatively as the dancer finished her set. She'd been graceful and elegant. He tipped 200 units into the common pot. Maybe a bit more than he should have, but he was feeling good and had the units to spare. He took a pull from his drink and waited for the show to resume, and then he saw the symbol on his table light up. Oh, he thought to himself as he saw the dancer make her way to his table. I like the way this is going, he thought. He pulled out a chair for her and offered to buy her a drink. She indicated what she wanted, and he made the order. She was even better looking close up, and he thought to himself, don't screw this up, you ham-fisted idiot. She reached across the table to him and, the pleasant scene in front of his eyes dissolved into swirling colors accompanied by a disoriented two-tone alarm. Ah, damn it, he thought, as he was slammed back into reality. Why am I not surprised? He switched off the alarm and let the nodules in the pot knead the back of his legs for a few minutes to bring his muscles back into play. He climbed out of the sleep station and did the mandatory exercises, stretching, bending and twisting his body until he was satisfied that he was ready for duty. His Thorn rifle and helmet were extruded from the live ship bulkhead, and he equipped them. He used to think, how did it all work? But as no answer was forthcoming, he just accepted that was the way that it was. His eyes fell on the symbol glowing on the bulkhead. The captain? What does the captain want with me? Still, having no time for idle conjecture, activating the door and strode to the corridor. He left in haste, in such a haste, in fact, that he didn't notice that the other two symbols that had appeared under the first one. He made his way to the bridge, greeting others as he passed them in the corridor, until he turned into the command area. He stopped, dead. There were two additional guards outside the bridge, an acolyte of Exarch, and a highborn guard. In his experience, this was rare, and rarer still, there appeared to be no tension between them. They weren't there when I went for my resting period. Politics and religion together. This can't be good, he thought to himself. He entered his entry code, and the door vanished and reappeared after he passed through the opening. He entered and took in the room in a glance. The captain at a command station, and to one side of her was a highborn, a youngling by the looks of it, and on the other side an aging exarch of the Exalted Order, and various crew members at their stations. Ah, Kirk, better late than never, said the captain in a tone of voice which absolutely did not, I repeat, did not scream, watch what you do, what you say. As per protocol, Kirk responded, as you command, Captain. We require the benefit of your experience, Kirk. What do you make of this? Said the captain, indicating the glowing panel in front of her. He looked at the panel. What sort of game is this? He thought. Aloud he said, it appears to be some sort of He was interrupted by a dry voice of the exarch. It is customary for soldiers to appear barefaced in the presence of the agents of the Order, is it not? As he reached for his helmet, another voice arrested his movement. It is customary for soldiers to be unarmed in the presence of a highborn, is it not? Said the highborn. However, on board ship, his requirement is negated. The Order's requirements takes precedence over the wishes of the highborn, do they not? Croaked the exarch. On home, that may or may not be the case, said the highborn. However, we are not on home. Therefore, those requirements are invalid. You have a front. The exact voice was cut off by the captain. On board, all crew members are helmeted and armed whilst on duty.
But,
croaked the Exot. Enough of this, said the captain. The helmet and the rifle stay on board the ship. I have final authority, as given by a high-born council and the conclave.
This will be brought up in the conclave meeting upon our return,
rasped the indignant Exot. Kirk, noticing the look the highborn gave the Exot, thought to himself, I wonder what the odds are I can get the Exot never to make it back home. Now to business, said the captain. What are your thoughts on this? Kirk looked at her unreadable face and gave the only answer he could. It's some kind of ship, he said, though not a configuration I'm familiar with. What would you do prior to being ordered to attack and or capture this ship? Said the captain in a tone of voice that absolutely said, don't let yourself and, more importantly, me down. Kirk heard his training say, size, composition, weapons, drive, and crew. That's what we need to know. Proceed, said the captain. Kirk turned to the sensor technician. What have we got? It's huge, he said. 8 miles, by 4 miles, by 2 miles. Huge. That's not possible, said Kirk. Our own ship is not even a mile in length. Nevertheless, that's what the scans indicate, said the tech. As for the composition and crew, unknown. The scans are inconclusive. It would seem that somehow the scans are being reflected. As for weapons, no pulse signatures, no energy signatures, no thorn signatures, no indications of any known weapon system at all. As for drive, no live drive signature, no Q signature, no slip drive signatures, no recognizable signatures at all. That's impossible, said Kirk. No weapons, no drive. No known drive or weapons systems, said the technician, in the I'm just telling you what the system says, no more or less, tone of voice, in tandem with the if it all goes down to the tubes, you ain't blaming it on me voice. Recommendations, said the captain. Are we still stealthed and undetected? Asked Kirk. Fully under stealth, and target shows no signs of knowing our presence. That's all we got, said Kirk. That's it, said the tech. Nothing in the common files that comes even close to what we are seeing, said the tech.
This is pointless, came the harsh voice of the Exot. We have done all of this before he was summoned. He has brought nothing to the situation.
Kirk thought to himself, thank you very much for that, you little shit. Kirk turned to the tech. Nothing of our files. What about the files that we've acquired from other species? The captain said to the Exot, this is why he is the raid leader, and you are, what you are. I can't access those files without the proper clearance, said the tech. Who has the clearance? Asked Kirk.
I have the authorization, grated the Exot, but I refuse to give the codes to a common soldier, nor even the captain, as it would be a dereliction of my duties to the conclave.
The captain was getting annoyed. Even if it costs the conclave their share of the spoils, she said.
That is contrary to the protocols of
The Exot was cut off by the captain. I'm not putting the ship or my crew at risk for you to play I'm just following the rules card.
This is Nazi.
Again, the Exot was interrupted by the captain. Escort the Exot to his quarters, she said.
This is blasphemy,
screamed the Exot as he was surrounded by 4 soldiers, lifted bodily to his feet and carried out. The sounds of outrage faded as he was carried down the corridor. Kirk thought to himself, crap, the odds just spelled through the floor.
Much better there, said the highborn. Mind you, he's an up-himself idiot, though, and whilst I concur with your decision and its implementation, unfortunately I do not have codes that you require.
Saying that, he gave the captain a searching look.
I believe I will retire to my quarters to await the conclusion of this impasse. In a voice that most definitely did not, and I repeat, did not say, do what you have to do.
And with that, he departed. Suggestions are welcome, said the captain.
If we give me a cleared bridge in a little time, I might be able to effect a solution, said the tech.
"A cleared bridge with my back turned to you is the best offer that you're going to get," said the captain.
That'll do," said the tech.
They all filed out. Then the captain called back the tech who had spoken up. Kirk filed out with all the others. Sometime later, they were all called back in. "Not only will none of you ever mention this event to anyone in the future, this event never actually took place at all. Is that understood?" There was a chorus of "Yes, captains," and "Ayes." Kirk spoke up. "What about the ship files? Won't they have a record of this?" "No, they won't," said the captain, looking at the tech, who had the grace to look abashed. "What was in the hidden files?" asked Kirk.
"Only one species we know of has any sort of knowledge of this type of ship. A Doricon squadron encountered a ship that resembles what we're looking at."
"What happened?" "Of course, them being the Doricon, then they being in their mating cycle at that time, they attacked the ship which was bigger than the one we're looking at." "And," said Kirk, "their group was destroyed, every single ship. Only a beacon survived their broadcast of their fate," said the tech.
"That's, impossible."
It occurred to him that he may have used the word impossible a lot more times since he was awakened than in his life prior to this point, said Kirk.
"The Doricon are almost on par with ourselves, and that would have been a lot of ships."
The captain said, "Indeed, a lot of ships. Normally there are 24 ships in a Doricon scout squadron, but they are only small craft, no ships of battle."
"Even so," said Kirk, "they have nearly the same level of weapons as we have, even though their ships are not as durable as ours."
"Captain," said another tech, "in our dump files there appears to be a historical record of our people meeting a ship of the size ratio, but it was a bigger ship. However, it was not in our space, but far out in the outer reaches of the spiral arm." "Continue," said the captain.
"It was 100 cycles ago, which is why it was not part of the main files. It was most likely added as an afterthought, probably because the report would not have been seen to be credible."
"Not credible? What details are there?" asked the captain.
"To be honest, not much at all, but just the similarity in design of the ship and the apparent lack of a drive and weapons," said the tech. "There was no hostile contact with the alien vessel, but a stealth probe gathered some information that is interesting."
"Interesting? In what way?" asked the captain.
"The alien ship was made of metal," said the tech.
"Made of metal?"
"That's thought Kirk, biting off the rest of the sentence. "Damn it!"
"Why did our ship not gain more information?" asked the captain.
"According to records, they were damaged and at the very limit of their range. If not having passed their safe return point, if they took any action at all, they would not have been able to return home."
"Is this an official record?" asked the captain.
"It appears to be so," said the tech. "How closely do the descriptions of the ships match?" asked Kirk. "The ratios are the same, but the other vessel is bigger than this one," said the tech. "Also, it tells us that these craft range far and wide, out in the spiral arm, in our space and the Doricon space, at the very least."
"Reasonable to assume that they were ships of the same species, then," said Kirk. "If the size ratios match, probably not a coincidence." "Agreed," said the captain. "We need to recall the Exot and the Highborn to let them know what we have discovered."
"First of all," said Kirk, "we must confirm that the ship is of the same type encountered in the past. Can we get a stealth probe onto it?" "The alien vessel has shown no deviation in its course and is likely that they cannot pierce our stealth. So a stealth probe is more than possible," said the tech.
"In that case, I recommend the deployment of a stealth probe," said Kirk. "Do it," said the captain. "How long will it take to deploy, and how long will it take for the information to come back?"
"No time to deploy at all. As far as the information transfer, that is unknown," said the tech.
A while later, Kirk looked in amazement at the probe's transmission.
"The hull contains metals and is over a yard thick. Just what have we found here?" "If this ship is made of metal, how much would there be?" asked the Highborn.
"More than our own continent, certainly," said the tech. "Possibly more than the whole of the home."
"We must acquire it,"
barbled the Exarch, who looked as if he was suffering from some sort of seizure.
So much metal, sir, riches, slaves in the road to total dom...
He cut himself off.
We must do everything in our power to seize it, or the order. Most High!
The emotions playing across his face were obvious to all that were present. Greed, hope, the lust for power, all writ large in his eyes. One of those readings, Kirk said to the tech. Life form readings, said the tech. Man-dot readings at that. How so? Asked the captain. 240 mobile life forms pulsing with some form of life. 2,116 immobile life forms at lower life levels, and innumerable immobile life forms at barely detectable life levels. Are some of them injured, or what? Said the captain. The life force reading on all groups is steady. There is no fluctuations at all, said the tech. Are the life form readings compatible with our own? Asked the highborn. I don't know, said the tech. They seem to be surrounded by some sort of field, an aura or radiance. Can't even get a reading of their physical shape. What can you tell us about them, then? Snapped the Exot, who seemed to have recovered somewhat from his earlier outburst. They appear to be 2/3 of our size. The atmosphere seems similar to ours, but a little bit thinner. Gravity a little heavy for us, but not catastrophically so. Those conditions would appear to be ship-wide. That's about it, the tech said. The active life forms are mostly concentrated in just over a cubic mile of space at the front of the ship. The not-so-active life forms occupy a similar area adjacent to this area. The barely active life forms are spread throughout the ship. In addition, there appears to be an area of biomass in order of 8-odd cubic miles in the middle of the ship. Purpose unknown. The ship consists of multiple levels. There is no more you can tell us, asked the captain. So much metal would appear to be limiting the scans. That is all the information we have, said the tech. Not much to go on, said the captain. On the contrary, said the highborn. From what little we do know, in my opinion, it is safe to assume that these aliens are capable of defending themselves in a way which we have no knowledge of, and therefore can be classified as dangerous to interact with. You can say that again, said the tech. You can say that again, said the tech. The Dragon attacked in standard formation, and in no short order was smeared all over the sector by some unknown weapon system whilst doing no damage to the alien vessel. I said it before, and I'll say it again, said Kirk. A Dragon scout squadron, while not heavily armed, are no joke to encounter in battle, as our history often shows. Yet they did no damage to the alien vessel at all. That is concerning, as they fundamentally use the same weapons as we do, which does not bode well. I tend to agree, said the captain. As species go, they aren't that bright, but their fighting prowess cannot be denied. Enough talk, barked the Exot. It is our duty to gather the spoils of battle and return them to home for the glory of the the Most High. I sit there listening to They are dangerous. They should be left alone. It seems this ship is crewed by weaklings and cowards. We should... Kirk growled in his throat and looked at the captain, who nodded almost imperceptibly. Kirk walked over to the Exot. Weaklings and cowards, is it? The Exot looked up and swallowed nervously as Kirk loomed over him. I will give you one chance, afforded to you by the honor code, to withdraw your statement, else I will challenge you to personal combat here and now, said Kirk. The Exot stammered. Combat? You can't do that. The voice of the captain interrupted him again. He can, and he is within his rights to do so. The honor code, co-signed by the Order and the Highborn, allows, no, almost demands it. It seemed to Kirk that the Highborn was trying unsuccessfully to stifle a smirk. This is outrageous, shouted the Exot. That statement is contradicted by the honor code, continued the captain. We await your reply. Kirk turned away from the Exot and walked to the bulkhead, from where his thorn sword was extruded. He took it and walked back to stand in front of the Exot. The Exot couldn't take his eyes from the sword. It was as if he was hypnotized by it. Suddenly, a cunning look crossed his face and his eyes flicked to the door. If you are thinking that your acolyte could stand in your stead, you are correct. However, after he is dead, the challenge will remain, said the captain.
But if,
said the exarch. No ifs or buts. The challenge will still remain. Remember, if you will, the exarch of the live ship 273.
Yes, I remember,
shouted the exarch.
Foully murdered.
Not so, said the highborn smoothly.
That exarch was also challenged to personal combat by a raid leader. He, like yourself, thought that his acolyte could protect him. He was in error, and both he and his acolytes paid the ultimate price.
You exarchs are all the same. You pick the biggest acolytes you can find and put them into a uniform, and expect people to fear you and them. In reality, your acolyte is the best a cosplayer, and possesses no threat to anyone other than himself. The exarch looked at the captain, who nodded very slightly, and the exarch seemed to collapse into himself. He swallowed nervously.
I appear to have insulted your honor. I withdraw unreservedly the remark that I unjustly made.
Kirk returned the sword to the bulkhead, and it was as if it had never been there in the first place. How does it do that? Thought Kirk. The answer was still not forthcoming. Honor has been satisfied, said Kirk, in accordance with the archaic terms of the honor code. There was an audible silence.
I think I will retire to my quarters and meditate for a while,
squeaked the exarch, and stumbled out of the bridge. Nobody said anything as he left, but the three other main players in the drama were doing their best to stifle grins. End of story. Part 2. A few seconds passed. Now on to business, said Captain. Kirk, recommendations.
Amongst my recommendations, the main one would be not to touch that ship with a 300 Monarch pole, said Kirk. However, as that is not an option, I would get the recon drones to map the entire hull of the ship, hopefully to establish any weaknesses.
Agreed. Deploy the drones, said the captain. We need all the info we can get. Sometime later.
What do you mean the hull has holes in it?
Just that, said the tech. Down both flanks of the ship there are regularly spaced holes in the hull. Purpose unknown.
That makes no sense, said the highborn, unless it's battle damage.
The holes are mostly 6 inches-ish in diameter, said the tech. There are other holes of different sizes, but not many. Battle damage is unlikely due to regular spacing.
What purpose could they possibly serve?
The highborn asked. They are alien. Their thought processes are unknown to us, but they must serve some sort of purpose, else they wouldn't be there, said the captain.
Can the drones fit through the holes?
Asked Kirk. Already done, said the tech. There are only rows and rows of metal boxes, which contain many of the immobile life forms at barely detectable levels.
Whatever their purpose, it'll make our job easier, said Kirk.
How so? Asked the highborn.
The capsule tunnel won't have to burn its way through the hull, if indeed it could.
Capsule tunnel? Queried the highborn.
The way we get our people on board the other ship, Kirk said.
How are you going to get through the hole that is 6 inches in diameter? The highborn asked.
That makes no sense. Now people are desiccated by living on the live ship. The resulting capsule is a cylinder 4 inches in diameter and 9 inches long. It's amazing how much of our bodies are liquid.
You are joking, said the highborn.
Indeed, I am not. This is SOP for a ship incursion, and has been used since time immemorial. Mainly, nobody has come up with a better way to do it.
If our people were reduced to a desiccated state, how would they transform back into what they were before the transformation? Asked the highborn.
Prior to the crew capsule insertion, a capsule of liquid is inserted into the ship. After a few seconds, the outer casing dissolves and the crew capsules are then delivered and, upon contact with the liquid, they are reconstituted in their entirely almost normal state, said Kirk.
Sounds a bit of a hit and miss to me. Errors are surprisingly few, said the captain. It has been done this way for countless cycles. As a crew member, it is a chance you take. Besides, once you get the first trooper through, they all have small liquid capsules of their own.
What liquid do you use?
Well, capsules of liquid contain the remains of our people who have either fallen in battle or have given permission to be repurposed after their death, said Kirk. They also serve those who are dead, mused the Highborn. Not how I would have described it, but in essence, yes, correct. You don't have to be dead, though, said the captain. The terminally ill and or injured can volunteer as well. It is seen as an honorable thing to do.
Seems quite positively ghoulish to me, said the Highborn. Life and death at the sharp end is mostly ghoulish to the people who don't experience it, said Kirk.
However, in this case, the initial point of entry has been afforded to us, and by all means we will take advantage of it, said the captain. Check the liquid capsules and instruct your people to ready themselves for desiccation, said the captain to Kirk. A few minutes later,
Captain, the liquid capsules are unusable. The container has been tampered with,
reported Kirk a few minutes later. Halt the desiccation process, barked the captain. How many had been done so far?
None, Kirk said. I believe in doing things the right way, making sure all the components are ready before deployment.
How was the container tampered with? Demanded the captain.
The seal was broken and the cover was not reattached as per standard practice, started Kirk. The breaking of the seal would not have rendered the capsules unusable if the cover was reattached correctly.
Who would do that?
Either a saboteur or somebody unfamiliar with the containment process would be my guess.
A saboteur on our ship? I have known this crew for many cycles, and I would bet a lot of the units that all these people are sound, the captain said.
As would I, said Kirk.
Captain, I have accessed logs to the storage facility, interjected a tech. What do they show?
Apart from the routine checks, the only anomaly is the Exarch entered the storage facility, said the tech.
The Exarch?
What would...
Get him in here now, commanded the captain.
No excuses, drag him in if you have to, said Kirk to the 4 crew members who moved out of the bridge.
A thought struck Kirk. He whispered to the Highborn,
Summon your guard. I want a few words with the Exarch's acolyte.
The Highborn looked at him quizzically, and then did as he was bid. As the Exarch was dragged none too gently onto the bridge, Kirk slipped out into the corridor. As the reshaping door cut off the shouting, he approached the acolyte. The acolyte was a huge specimen, nearly 9 feet of muscle and broad with it.
Hello there, tell me, what sort of master is the Exarch?
I am not at liberty to discuss such things with non-members of the conclave, said the acolyte in a childlike, slow sing-a-song voice.
Your life might depend on it.
What do you mean? Said the acolyte.
Just answer the question, said Kirk.
Even amongst the members of the conclave, it is well-known fact that the Exarch is a complete craphead, said the acolyte.
No surprise there, thought Kirk. Why did you volunteer to be his acolyte then? Said Kirk.
Volunteer? Said the acolyte. I didn't volunteer. I was forced to. The Exarch threatened my family.
Would that be because you were the biggest acolyte that was available? Asked Kirk.
What are you, a mind reader? Said the acolyte.
No, just a keen student of people's nature, said Kirk. Remember the part about your life, Kirk said as he moved away. As he walked back to the bridge, it was not lost on him that the slow, sing-song voice of the acolyte had gone, replaced in normal tones. He re-entered the bridge. The captain was shouting at the Exarch. What happened? He whispered to the Highborn.
He denied the whole thing until the Exarch's logs were showed to him, replied the Highborn. I honestly think that he isn't playing with a full deck. Either that, or he's so supremely stupid that it is unbelievable. When the logs were shown to him, he threw a massive wobbler and nearly came unglued.
Did he say why he did it? Said Kirk.
Babbled some nonsense about not having to answer some questions, said the Highborn.
Why is the captain bellowing at him? Asked Kirk.
He just volunteered his acolyte as a subject for the liquidization. The captain is not impressed.
I thought as much, said Kirk. I assume that his line is, the Conclave's business is not subject to interference, said Kirk.
Indeed, that is his position, said the Highborn. How did you know that?
Not difficult to figure out. Not when his earlier behavior is examined.
The captain, having calmed down a bit, said, Take him back to his quarters, put a guard on him. If he pokes his nose out, cut it off at the neck. The exarch started bubbling incoherently, and the captain slapped him to the floor.
Enough of this. Do as you're told.
The exarch was dragged up by his feet.
That's a nice touch, thought Kirk. Well done to those men.
What are we going to do? Inquired the Highborn. Technically, he is right. The Conclave's internal business is not subject to outside interference.
I totally agree, said the captain. But there is other matters. We do need a liquidization capsule for the alien ship.
In all conscience, I cannot allow the acolyte to be ordered to sacrifice himself to cover up the exarch's error, said the captain. There has got to be another way.
If it were up to me, the exarch would go into the chamber and boom, problem solved, Kirk said, noting the captain's used the word exarch.
It had crossed my mind, said the captain, but we would never get past the inquiry when we got home.
I have a plan, said Kirk,
and he beckoned the two of them closer and whispered his idea. That would certainly solve both problems, the Highborn said, but what happens if it doesn't work? Considering the lack of alternatives, I find myself having to countenance your plan, the captain said. I don't like it, but it seems we're stuck with it. Summon the exarch and acolyte, ordered the captain. The two were brought to the bridge.
To his acolyte, the exarch said, You have been selected for a great honor.
Yes, exarch, said the acolyte. And what would that be?
Kirk couldn't help but smile to himself because the sing-song childish voice was back. You get to pave the way for our capture of the alien ship, said the exarch.
Seems like an honor to me. What do I have to do? Asked the acolyte.
You step into this chamber and undergo the process, and you'll be transferred to the alien ship, said the exarch.
What process?
No questions. Be thankful that you can be of use to the Conclave.
But I want to know, said the acolyte in a childlike voice. My family always told me to ask questions.
Yes, your family. I remember them. So many, many questions. You are to be liquidized and sent to the alien ship, said the exarch.
Liquidated and sent to the alien ship, said the acolyte. Will it hurt?
It doesn't matter if it hurts. You'll do your duty, rasped the exarch.
But I don't want to be liquidated, moaned the acolyte.
Liquidized, not liquidated, shouted the exarch, beginning to lose his temper. Liquidated and liquidized are two different things.
What do I do when I get to the alien ship? Asked the acolyte.
Enough questions. Do as I command, shouted the exarch.
But I don't want to be liquidated, cried the acolyte.
You won't be liquidated. You will be liquidized. They are two different things. Liquidated is what I had done to your family after we left home, screamed the exarch, completely forgetting where he was.
Well, I have to take my tabard off, asked the acolyte. I really like my tabard. It's nice colors, whined the acolyte.
No, you won't, shouted the exarch. You can keep it on. Clothing is immaterial in the process.
That's all I wanted to know, said the acolyte in a normal voice, a fact the exarch completely overlooked.
Where's the tank? Said the acolyte. There it is. Get in, and you useless lump, screamed the exarch, thumping the acolyte with his wand of office, which was akin to somebody hitting a skyscraper with an umbrella. The acolyte said nothing further, picked up the exarch and stuck him in the tank. Not today, arsehole, said the acolyte. Murder my family, will you, bastard? Kirk thought to himself. I knew it.
Shame I couldn't get that bet up and running. The lid on the tank formed, cutting off the screams of the Exot. The acolyte said to the captain, I'm ready to go to the brig. I'll cause no trouble. Take him away, said the captain. Once the acolyte had been taken away, the highborn said to Kirk, How did you know? I'm a soldier. Knowing how to read people is a must. Through training to combat, I saw how his eyes followed the Exot. They were not the eyes of a devoted follower. 2 problems solved with 1 blade, said the captain. Indeed, fortune seems to have smiled upon us in this regard. Now, on to the alien ship problem, said the highborn. End of Part 2. Part number 3. Is this reasonable to assume that these aliens are well versed in making and using metal? So well versed, in fact, that they can make enormous ships from it, said Kirk. Do either of you have any experience with metal? He asked. The captain shook her head. In all my cycles, I have never seen a metal artifact, she said. The highborn said, I have, and what I learned that day filled me with dread. And the other 2 looked at him questioningly. Some cycles ago, our house tree suffered from a malignant tumor, infecting one of the elder vines, which threatened to spread throughout the tree and destroy it, he said. War clubs and thorn swords didn't even scratch the elder vine. In desperation, acidic paste and fire were tried, and the result was the same. That's verging on heresy, said the captain. Indeed, said the highborn. The decision was not mine, and was made of the elders of my house. It was not taken lightly, but the disgrace of losing our house tree was not to be borne. As I said, nothing worked, and the elders were at a loss at what to do. It was then I remembered a childhood memory, from when our most ancient retainers, who were long gone, had turned to dust. He once told me that in our house museum, tucked away in the dusty corner, there were pieces of metal that had been there longer than anyone could remember. I searched the museum, and eventually I found the aforementioned metal pieces. Amongst them was a piece that was about 20 kmmaks long and flat, with a bulbous middle portion tapering away at the edges. It was heavy. It was the heaviest thing I ever lifted, and it was very sharp. After wrapping one end in the heaviest cloth I could find, I struck the elder vine with the other end. It cut through the vine, as if it wasn't there. Through the elder vine? That doesn't seem possible. I would agree with you if I hadn't been the one doing the cutting, said the highborn. 2 cuts, and the tumor was excised, and the vine had a graft put in. And after a time there was no indication of what had happened. What did you do with the metal? Asked the captain. I put it back where I took it from, and tried to forget the whole thing, and everyone was sworn to secrecy, said the highborn. The events terrify me. Did you not surrender the metal to the council? Said the captain. No, I did not, said the highborn. Why not? Asked Kirk. The reason the High Council demands that all metal artifacts are to be held by them, said the highborn, is they can find some way to mold the pieces into swords or clubs. They can rule by force, and not by common consent. You think that would happen? Said Kirk. It is common knowledge amongst the houses. It would happen faster than you think, said the highborn. The council is all about themselves and retaining the positions of power. Politicians, Kirk said in a dismissive voice. We need to vote on our course of action, said the captain. Attack the ship or not? No, said the highborn instantly. Reluctantly, yes, said the captain. We are bound by the structures of the ancient mantra. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But it is there. 1 for no and 1 for yes, Kirk said. Stalemate. You have the casting vote, then, said the highborn. Me? Said Kirk. Normally, I would have been the exarch who would have had the final vote, but he is busy serving in another capacity. It falls on the next highest rank, which happens to be you. No, Kirk said. In fact, I recommend that we get away from the alien craft as soon as possible." "Notwithstanding the mantra, I cannot disagree with you," said the captain, who sounded somewhat relieved. "Good choice there," boomed a voice that seemed to come from everywhere in the ship. Who's that?" stuttered the captain. "This is Commander Ferdinand Shackleton of the ship that you've been following." You can see us," stammered the captain. "We have been aware of your presence since you showed up, and have now translated your language enough to communicate with you." "But we're stealthed," said the captain. "Our scanning technology would be a mystery to you, and you probably wouldn't understand how they work," said the voice. "Normally, I wouldn't do this, but you guys put on such a good show with the Exarch," said the alien voice. "Nicely done, Kirk. I won the pool because of you." Kirk just looked at everybody. "What?" The voice continued. "I have a good and bad news for you. The good news is self-explanatory. You didn't attack us, therefore you aren't dead. Sadly, the bad news for you is 3 Zyro ships were following you because you found us, and I'm led to believe that they intend to capture and or destroy your craft." "The Zyro?" squeaked the highborn. "Those murderous pirates!" "Action stations," bellowed the captain. "Prepare to receive orders." "Kirk, revive as many troops as you can." Kirk hurried away. "And we take them?" asked the highborn. "I don't know," said the captain. "Still, we don't really have a choice other than to fight for our ship. They would slaughter us for the fun of it anyway." "Captain, I found them, and as we were told, 3 of them medium attack craft," said the sensor tech. "Sneaky bastards were hiding in one of the lower bands that nobody ever uses." "Medium attack craft? Our chances just went up," said the captain. "What about the aliens?" said Kirk. "After all, we nearly attacked their ship." "Good luck, fellas. Don't worry about us. We think of this as an in-house squabble," said the alien voice.
"Are the Zyro on an attack vector?" asked the captain.
"Not as of yet," said the tech. "They seem to be content to follow our course at the moment."
"Right, but every weapon to them. Every weapon. But don't fire until my mark."
"Already done," said the tech.
"That's a good man right there," thought the captain.
Not long afterwards, Kirk returned. "Troops armed and ready," he said.
The captain broadcast throughout the ship. "There are 3 Zyro following us, no doubt looking for an easy meet. It is up to us to make sure that, at the very least, we stick in their teeth." He turned to the tech. "I want 40% of our weapons each to fire on the first 2 ships simultaneously. And when the 3rd ship comes in to attack whilst they think our weapons are recharging, they'll swarm in, fat, dumb, and happy, and be hit point blank by the other 20%. After we fire our 2nd salvo, I want us to move to the far side of the alien ship to give us as much cover as we can get. This may not work, but at least they'll know they have been in a fight. Everybody clear on what to do?" The air was filled with eyes and yes, captains. "Imperceptibly slow us down, so they are closer when they get smashed in the mouth."
"Aye, sir."
Time passed. "That's close enough. Open fire," said the captain. The live ship shuddered as the weapons fired. "Damage report," asked the captain.
Wait, said the sensor tech.
The live ship shuddered as the 2nd salvo was fired. "We are behind the alien ship," said the tech. "Damage to the Zyro." "The first 2 ships were seen to be out of control and drifting. We caught them in the soft carapace. The 3rd one is damaged, but it is about to fire now." The live ship writhed in the grip of weapons fire. "Damage report," said the captain. "Multiple hits aft section," said the tech. "Assessing damage now." "All available weapons fire on the 3rd ship when ready," said the captain. The live ship shuddered again as the weapons fired. "Sit rep now," shouted the captain, then looking around as he realized that he was shouting. Thankfully, nobody seemed to notice. "3rd ship destroyed," said the tech in a satisfied tone of voice. "Wait until the weapons recharge and then destroy the other 2 ships as well," sedated the captain.
"You are just going to kill all of them," interjected the alien voice.
"The Zyro are pirates. They rob, kill, assault, and torture their victims, males, females, and youngers," stated the captain in a flat voice. "They deserve nothing less, and truth be told, they deserve a lot more." There was silence from the alien ship.
Also, let me remind you, in your own words, you consider this an in-house squabble, said the captain. Silence reigned. The silence was broken by the alien voice. Well, you got me there. Hoist with my own petard. The three of them looked at each other. Petard. What is the state of your ship? The voice continued. What is the damage and casualties? Asked the captain. 32 dead and 74 wounded, said the tech. We have multiple hull breaches in the aft sector, and the hull is self-seeding as we speak. Nothing too severe. 32 dead and 74 wounded, said the highborn. Spoken like a politician, said the captain. No idea of life at the sharp end. If aliens hadn't warned us, the Zyro would have gone through us like metal through an elder vine. The captain spoke to the air. We have damage, but we will be able to make it home safely. Thanks for your warning. In all probability, all of us who survived did so because of you. As I said, normally we wouldn't interfere. The Prime Damn. That crap gets in your head, doesn't it? But we learned of the nature of the Zyra, and nobody likes to see the bad guys win. Normally we would try and have some sort of technology exchange, but you wouldn't understand how ours work, and we have no clues how your living spaceship functions. So I think that we'll just leave it there. Seems to be fair, said the captain. By the way, where are you going? Second star to the right and on until morning, the voice said. Silence followed. In reality, we're just going forward to see what we can find. The captain shook his head uncomprehendingly. Your present course will eventually take you into Cuthrus space, and they are not known for their welcoming nature. It was ever thus, said the voice. It is the price you pay when you move out of your comfort zone. On that note, we will leave you, said the voice. Fair winds to you. Fair winds? What? Thought the captain. Realizing he had to say something, he said, Fair winds to you as well. He turned to the sensor tech. Now, how about the ship's logs? He said. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.